Hi, this is Dave from jamplay.com, and in this lesson we're going to be looking at Travis picking, a very popular method to use on the acoustic. When first doing a Travis picking method, you're going to want to make sure that your hand is in the right place. A lot of times the neck is going to really factor in to how you play this technique. When you look at classical players or flamenco players that play a lot of finger picking stuff, their neck is going to be tilted up. You want to make sure that your neck is not tilted down. You want to make sure it's either parallel with the floor or that it's up here. The idea is to get your hand in a position where all the weight falls to the tips of your fingers. It helps your fingers move. It helps your fingers grab with a lot of strength in the tips rather than having to use your arm or your hand. So it keeps a very relaxed position. So you'll notice when I was playing that my hand is kind of at a tilt. It's not straight this way, it's falling this way. And the easiest way to do it is kind of take your hands like this and let them slowly fall until you feel the weight fall into your fingers. And once the weight falls into the fingers, that's where you want to be. And that's what's going to generate a lot of strength, a lot of consistency and clarity when you pull on those strings. Before we get into the pattern, let's just show where we're at. We're at the 7th fret. We're going to be playing a C major 7 add 9 chord. So you're going to be putting your index finger at the 1st fret, right next to that capo, so that's your 8th fret. You're going to be putting your ring finger just an octave away on the 10th fret on the D string, and then you're going to be putting your middle finger on the B string right underneath the index finger. And so you're going to get this real nice, beautiful sound. One of the things you want to watch in the left hand, first of all, to make sure you have a relaxed feel, is a lot of where your hand is positioned here is going to be determined by your wrist. You don't want to have your wrist too far up, otherwise you're going to get a real choked, buzzed sound. If you have it up too far, you're going to take the weight too much off of your hand, you're going to have to squeeze too hard. So you want to have your wrist kind of push forward so that especially you get like this middle finger up off the string here, so that string can sound, and you have this pinky finger, which is going to be the most complicated one, up off the string here, so that G string sounds. So you want a nice clear sound coming out, okay? So now you're going to take your right hand, you're going to let it drop, kind of let it relax, let the blood flow to your fingertips, feel the weight in there. Now, some people anchor in different places. They'll anchor a ring finger on the body, they'll anchor a ring finger on the E string, for instance. In this one, it's just comfortable for me to kind of have a grip with my ring finger on the E string. And this is going to be helpful as we look at the totality of this song as well. So that pattern you're going to see is a 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Thumb and middle, thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index. And you want to try to make where your wrist, a lot of times when you play, your wrist or your hand is going to be anchored to the guitar, so it has a hinge point, a place of rotation. When you're this way, your hand is hanging in midair, so the rotation point is the wrist itself. It's going to be anchored in a position where in midair, you notice my hand doesn't move a whole lot. Now when I'm playing here, I want to keep a very relaxed feel, okay? If you slow it down, I'm playing the together, thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index, together. Thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index, together. Quarter note. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. And that's the Travis picking method right there. It's very famous. It's used in a lot of folk tunes. Bob Dylan made it famous. A lot of different artists have used it. You're going to hear it in a lot of songs ranging probably from 60s all the way through the 80s. And even today you're going to hear it in a lot of bluegrass music, a lot of folk music. And it's going to be very instrumental to learn this and learn it clear because you're going to be able to play a lot of songs. Now, you'll notice I move chords around a lot when I played in that little introduction. I'm not going to cover that in this lesson. I'm going to cover that in the next lesson of how to kind of move around as we look at the introduction to this song and take it apart piece by piece so that not only will you learn the technique, by the end of this you'll actually learn how a whole song kind of weaves itself together. Okay? But for right now, I just want you to practice those fingers and practice them slow and get them very consistent to where you're getting the same sound coming out of them each time. And you can pull off not just on the G and the B strings as well. If you want to go to your D and your G string, you can go to your B and your E string if you want. And one last thing to mention about my right hand would be the action of the thumb. You don't want the thumb to be coming off too much. The strength of your thumb is going to be pulling out and down a little bit, and that's where you want it. You want a very consistent sound. You'll notice that this is going to be keeping the quarter note the whole time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that is consistent the whole time. Depending on where you throw those index and middle fingers, it's going to either land after or before that thumb, or it's going to land together with that thumb. Now we're going to build this pattern from the ground up to help you practice it and to start it out and kind of ease your way into it. What we're going to start with is we're going to start a metronome at about 100 for the quarter note, which is going to be slow enough to where you're not stressing yourself out, but also quick enough to where the pattern actually makes sense. If you slow it down too much, the pattern might kind of lose some rhythm to it. And what you can do is get your chord in place, and you can always use a different chord. This doesn't have to be the chord. I'm just preparing you for the song that we'll be applying this in. And we throw the thumb in there. So there's your quarter note, getting it very consistent. And then you want to throw your middle finger together with your thumb. And then throw the index finger directly after it. And then build it into the next middle finger. Now you got the whole pattern. After you throw that last index finger. So it's that bum, boom. There's your last index. So that's the Travis picking method from the ground up. In the next lesson, we will be applying that in the context of a song.